After a job offer went sour, radio station 910 AM banned its hosts and guests from saying the name of Kwame Kilpatrick on air.
But facing harsh criticism from listeners and some employees, the owner of the station is now changing his tune. Fox 2's Randy Ridley live now with an update. Randy.
Hey guys, 9:10 a.m. owner Kevin Adele changing his tune, citing the broader controversy of social media platforms like Facebook and Twitter censoring its users, their users. Adele not wanting to be seen in that same vein after receiving a lot of pushback, and the fallout continues.
You need to apologize and humble yourself, sir. Now, you apologize to me. I gotta give you that. You did humble yourself to me. But I'm not the only person that you have injured.
Pastor Maurice Mo Hardwick hosts the show on 9:10 a.m. and blasted Adele Wednesday. The two spoke by phone Thursday.
I told him, it's not about that. It's about this African-American community that you have offended. People are offended by this and your behavior. You need to recant that statement.
Now there's a call to boycott the station and for remaining hosts to resign.
Now I gotta be silenced, and you take away my freedom of speech, and you censor me behind something that has nothing to do with me. It seems like slavery all over again. It's Black History Month. It's like you wanna whoop him to me for not taking a free job. Sounds like slavery to me.
Community activist Maurice Pastor Mo Hardwick hosts a Sunday night show on the station.
So if you're gonna tell me to speak out when you want me to, I'm not about this lap dog. I'm not about this lap dog. You're not going to tell me when I can speak.
A protest is planned this afternoon to show support for a woman whose family says she's been neglected in a nursing home. The family of a young woman who is a resident at that home is now speaking out, saying that she was mistreated at the nursing home, leaving her with pneumonia and body sores. The family says that 29-year-old Ebony Butler says she's been neglected at Autumn Woods Healthcare Facility. It's in Warren, and they say this has been going on since February. She suffered sores, pneumonia, and she's now on a ventilator after a severe asthma attack. The family says Butler was rushed to a hospital at least twice, but was returned to Autumn Woods because no other facility would take her.
I will fight to the end to expose and bring it to accountability any facility, state sanction, pay to take care of people's loved ones in the most crucial time of their life, and they mistreat them.
Pastor Mo from the Live in Peace movement says those who would weaponize the phrase black-on-black crime against African Americans, lamenting both community violence and police brutality, are missing the mark.
Every culture has its crime in its own community and own culture. We know this, right? But we're checking ourselves. And we don't need you to check us. You need to check yourself. Make sure you ain't killing us. Because watch this, what we have not saw around this country, Randy, is this. We have not saw the same officer with the same power, same badge, shoot down white boys for no reason. On the murder George Floyd with a knee, it's just as wrong to murder him with a gun by a black man. Stand with the issue. Listen, we all stand with the issue. Every last one of us activists, we stand with the issues and the protests, but we do not stand with destruction and furthering the same thing we mad about. We protesting about it. That's fake. We denounce violence. That means we denounce the same violence when it comes to shooting the cop.
And there are certainly disparate expressions of anger, and it seems like really disparate intentions here amongst the organizers, because there seems to be a fluid set of organizers here. I had a chance to speak to Pastor Mo around 8:30, and he was saying that at that point organizers were pushing people to go home. Were you seeing that outside of the headquarters as well?
Right. That's a good point. Pastor Mo was one of the community leaders, community activists that spoke and said, hey, check in with us. We're in charge here. We're in charge of community activism in Detroit. Check in with us if you're going to do this. That was at 2 o'clock. They got together. They were here. They were all here together, which is good. And you heard the guy earlier in my story who said, yeah, they told us to go home. They told us it's over. Go home. No looting. No, don't do anything crazy.
Police Chief James Craig, Mayor Mike Duggan, and several local pastors and leaders just hours after Friday's protest. Several protests happened across the country Friday night due to the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Thousands of protesters marched about downtown Detroit Friday night. It started out peacefully outside the police department around 4 o'clock, but as night fell, Chief Craig tells me things got ugly.
We arrested 45 males, 15 females.
There are plans for more protests Saturday night. Many local leaders say they won't allow it happen.
I have this shirt on that says StreetSweeper. That's my nickname, my little nickname. Because I believe in cleaning the streets of Detroit. We're some of the very people who have been, those who have been a problem in the past of dirtying the streets. We made a vow to clean the streets of Detroit. And in that vow yesterday, I locked arms with a lot of activists and community leaders. And we locked arms in solidarity to promote a peaceful protest, to allow and to come together to voice our bitterness, our outrage with what's happening around the world. But here's the thing, even those who usually be agitators, even those who stood down yesterday and did not have a mind to disrupt the city, to riot the city. Even those who usually not in line with us got in line. So here's my message to those who come into Detroit who do not know what's going on in Detroit. You have the right idea, just the wrong city. You have the wrong city, because what you don't know is that the activists, we had locked arms and we checked in with Detroit Police and Chief Craig. We checked in. Chief Craig is the Chief of Police in Detroit. He cannot go to Atlanta and just rule there. He must check in with the Chief of Police there. So the message to you all, the so-called activists who do not live in Detroit or don't work with us, you need to check in with us before you get a mind to come in here and disrupt. You must check in with the activists here. And you let us school you on how this works, because we know how it works. We check in with DPD. We don't have, this city does not have a huge, any kind of police brutality problem with murder. And if we had some occasions, and guess what Chief Craig did? When Damon Grimes got hit with that taser, guess what he did? Did his freaking job and made sure they took to the people for prosecution. Guess what he did when the officer said things wrong about Bad Felicia? Guess what he did? Opened up a full investigation on that precinct and did not stop at his protect his police. He stopped at truth and led them wherever it was to be righteous, to stand. So we ain't just here for yesterday. We have a long-standing, he has a record of being honest with us and doing his job.
The voices of change expressed by the protesters are powerful and they're important. And we don't want to do anything to diminish your voices. But we're asking that in these protests, that you turn to each other and not turn on each other.
I want to just talk very briefly about my message. It's simple. We will continue to support protesters in getting out their message. Important. However, to those who threaten the safety of our community, our police officers, and damage property, we will not tolerate.
Another thing that Chief talked about was the community leaders. Pastor Mo in particular was down here. He was working with everybody, and he was working with the organizers and the majority of the protesters, and they were peaceful. And then, you heard what Jessica said, and Pastor Mo said, I tried.
To go on social media, which is going out all around the world, type in something like body bags for all of them, and I would have murdered them all in this environment. In this environment, when the country's in the uproar, and the whole world, and Brazil and France are in the uprising and burning, that you would take that position to say that? What have you been doing in the darkness? And we can't trust you.
When they make statements like that, he is a disappointment to myself
and all of my colleagues across this country that wears the badge of chief of police.
I'm afraid of what might happen next.
Grave concern comes from community activist and Pastor Maurice Hardwick over the alarming number of freeway shootings on Detroit highways. Michigan State Police says so far there have been at least 7 in 2021, along with dozens last year. Just days ago, 2 men died following a shooting on I-96 in Schaefer on Detroit's west side.
It's too violent. It's too much anger, too much tension, and it's unsafe. And I want the people to know you can no longer settle your disputes on the freeway.
Troopers believe many stem from road rage, while others started in neighborhoods and escalated onto freeways. Hardwick believes the challenges that come with the coronavirus pandemic could also play a role.
People have been in the house and they have lost their jobs. They've lost their businesses. They have lost their freedom. Churches are closed down.
Now Hardwick plans to bring what he believes is the power of worship to the freeways. He's organizing a prayer rally on Tuesday. Participants will pray at an overpass with a police escort. Hardwick says people from all denominations and walks of life will be there.
Aaron, a Detroit pastor is calling for community leaders to gather for public prayer.
Even if it's not your loved one being shot at, what if that car flips and hits your loved one, your daughter, your son going to work? That's scary.
And now police are looking for the gunmen involved in 2 non-related freeway shootouts.
You don't stop all crime, but you at least can record it, right? And you can investigate it, and you also it's a deterrent. But those freeways down under, it's nothing down there. Nobody's there sitting watching. There's no security sitting watching. Maybe it would cause folks to say, hey, let me calm down. I don't want to be the one caught up in that. So let me not brake check. Let me not be so aggressive when I'm driving. Let me not get so angry when somebody cuts in front of me. I think that it can cause also people to realize that you can't settle your beef on the freeway anymore because people are watching. Every driver, every traveler from the state of Michigan to Detroit, throughout the region, that your power shall fall from bumper to bumper, tire to tire, that we should stand and stand down. Stand down, we call peace. Somebody say peace. 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 Peace still.
The protest demanding justice for Mackenzie Cochran, the 25-year-old from Ferndale, died in a way eerily similar to George Floyd. Cochran was held down by security guards at the old Northland Mall back in 2014, even gasping the same words as Floyd, "I can't breathe." No one was ever charged in this case, but his family and community activists say that must change. Pastor Mo telling our Alan Campbell justice cannot be denied.
And today is an awakening. America is scarred of it. And that family has never been apologized, justified. It's never had their day in court. And it's time to pull those files back up.
Yes. Now I want to turn to Pastor Mo Hardwick, who's been here with us through so many tough times, through so many demonstrations. As you heard that verdict, guilty on all counts, where did your mind go?
To what this country is built upon, the Constitution. And that is, it now played out the way it's supposed to. The man took life on live camera, did not care, was not showing any remorse, and he faced the jury of his peers today. And he faced the court system, and now he has to face his punishment. And so now America, seeing that we matter and that the Constitution is upheld, we can look toward the law now. And the voices were heard. Sadly, it took some demonstrations that was sometimes went over the top, but now that we look to see that justice is served, we can now look to do more policy changes. And I think that the people of Detroit needed to see that we matter. I think that young people need to see that we matter. And also the system needs to see that when you do the right thing, you're going to have peace tonight. You're not going to have a bunch of protesters burning and looting. If you do the right thing, I think we all can take a page out of this history book and learn to do the right thing.
Pastor Mo, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. We know history will look back on this moment.
Yes.
This is going to be something for young people to take in, and to see that change.
Yes.
Thank you for taking time to talk with us.
I'd like to also say that a lot of people, protesters, should be an example right now to young people that's watching us. Don't go down the wrong side of history. Don't go out trying to just create a protest, because there's no good police that's sad right now. The good police are also happy. But I heard the words, guilty, guilty, guilty. My heart says yes, yes, yes. Finally, they got it right. We can lean and look toward our judicial system and our Constitution to uphold the sanctity of life. That this country on record today respected African American life in the hands of someone who's holding a seat of authority and took matters into his own hands. And today, our community can be at rest as far as protests, as far as any civil unrest. We can now look toward more strategy and using wisdom and peace and calm to make sure all the laws and policies are changed to protect our people.
Chief James Craig appearing on Fox News Saturday, hinting at his future, possibly challenging Governor Whitmer in 2022, running as a Republican, according to our sources. Community activist Pastor Maurice Hardwick says Chief Craig has often met with other community leaders about important issues.
We met in the street protesting, and we decided to have a meeting and talk, and found out that the man had the same kind of vision I had, was to make the city safer and to help support the youth.
Hi, welcome back to Let It Rip. Well, the search is on for Detroit's new police chief. Many candidates now in the running. We're going to discuss a couple of them. Here to do that, to help us out, community leader Pastor Mo and former assistant police chief with the Detroit Police Department, Steve Dolan. Pastor Mo, you're a community activist. What do you think is the #1 trait that Chief Craig brought to the Detroit Police Department that you would want to see in the next chief?
The #1 thing I would think that I would want to see the next chief is that Chief Craig was open and willing to sit down and listen to activists, boots on the ground, community leaders, and he was open to work with them, to engage with the youth, and he really pushed and embodied 21st century community policing, and not with an iron fist, but with intelligence and with procedure.